In the years leading up to the final revelation, the signs from the heavens had begun to intensify, as if the universe itself was preparing for the arrival of the final prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him. At that time, the structure of the Kaaba was in a fragile state. Rain had eroded its walls to the extent that even a goat brushing against it could cause stones to tumble. The Quraysh discovered that a Roman ship had wrecked nearby, and the remnants of the ship, including planks of fine wood, had washed ashore. They salvaged the wood and decided to rebuild the Kaaba, using the timber for reinforcement. A Roman carpenter, who happened to live in Mecca, offered his skills to support the construction. Muhammad, peace be upon him, still a young man, joined the efforts with the other Qurayshi youth. During this time, an idol stood just outside the Kaaba. People offered sacrifices and made vows before it. Yet despite intense pressure from his aunts and female relatives, Muhammad never once bowed to or even looked toward the idol. His relatives feared something terrible might happen to him for rejecting the idol. But later he revealed that each time he approached, a tall figure dressed in white would appear before him and steer him away. Zayd ibn Haritha, who was later adopted by Muhammad, peace be upon him, as his son, once shared a similar experience. Zayd had been kidnapped in childhood and sold as a slave. Eventually, he ended up in Mecca and came into the household of the Prophet. When Zayd's father eventually found him and came to take him back, Zayd refused, having seen in Muhammad qualities unlike any other. From that moment, Muhammad announced Zayd as his son publicly at the Kaaba. Zayd recalled his desire to touch one of the idols outside the Kaaba. It was golden in color, and people frequently stroked it with reverence. Zayd admitted that as a child he too was tempted, but just as he was about to approach it, he heard a voice from behind saying, "Zayd, do not touch it." That voice was of the Prophet. Another telling moment occurred when the Prophet stood at a distance, watching the people kiss the idols. A voice behind him said, "Stand behind the Prophet of Allah." The other responded, "How can we stand behind him when the people before him are worshiping idols?" From that day forward, the Prophet avoided even glancing at the idols again. At the age of 25, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was approached by his uncle Abu Talib, who expressed concern over the drought and lack of trade in Mecca. Abu Talib suggested Muhammad approach Khadija, the wealthiest woman in Mecca, to take part in a caravan heading to Syria. Muhammad replied that if God willed profit in this, the opportunity would come to him. And just a few days later, a proposal came directly from Khadija. She had heard of Muhammad's honesty and integrity, and she requested him to carry her goods to Syria. Khadija came from an extremely respected lineage. Her family held 10 hereditary titles, including the title of the Council, as their advice was sought in all major decisions of Meccan life. Her maternal lineage was also noble, traced through names preserved in written traditions: Fatima, Hala, Kulaba, Atika, Ribta, and Naila. Once a year, elite women of Mecca would gather for a feast where learned speakers, including Jewish women, were invited. On one such occasion, a Jewish woman predicted, "Soon a great prophet will arise among you. Whoever among you has the honor to marry him will be blessed." While the others dismissed it, Khadija took it to heart. When the caravan prepared to leave for Syria, Khadija appointed her trusted servant Maysara to accompany Muhammad. She instructed him not to interfere with Muhammad's decisions and to remain obedient. The caravan reached Basra, the same town where, years earlier, the monk Bahira had recognized signs of prophethood in Muhammad. They rested beneath a tree near a monastery, a tree beneath which, according to tradition, only prophets rested. The monk of that area summoned Maysara and asked, "Who is the man sitting under that tree?" Upon learning he was from the sacred house in Mecca, the monk said, "Only prophets sit under that tree." The monk also asked, "Do you see any redness in his eyes?" Maysara confirmed that he had noticed it from the moment they set out. The monk replied, "Then he is the one who will soon be declared a prophet and will be exiled from his homeland." Sarah noted something else remarkable. The entire journey, a cloud followed them, providing constant shade over Muhammad. While in Syria, a traitor tried to provoke an argument with Muhammad and, during the exchange, swore by the idols Lat and Uzza. Muhammad replied, "I do not swear by Lat and Uzza." The man instantly softened and said, "You must be the one our books speak of." On the return journey, Maysara's camels became exhausted and lagged behind. He approached Muhammad, who gently placed his hand on the camels. They suddenly regained energy and started trotting joyfully, making happy sounds. Upon their return, as they approached Khadija's home, she stood on her balcony with other women and noticed a cloud shading both of them. This was something she had never seen in any of her trade delegations before. Later, Maysara recounted all these extraordinary events to Khadija. She was deeply moved. She gifted Muhammad 4 red camels in gratitude and saw in him more than just a business partner. She saw the signs she had been waiting for. Ammar ibn Yasir recalled once walking with Muhammad through a market when a woman, Khadija's sister, called them. She asked Ammar, "Will your friend marry Khadija?" Ammar said he would inquire. She added, "Then send Abu Talib to us." Soon after, a dinner was arranged at Khadija's house, where she personally cooked and hosted Abu Talib and others. After the meal, she quietly approached Abu Talib and said, "Would you go to my uncle and ask for my hand for your nephew?" Abu Talib, surprised, asked if she was serious. She replied, "It is the will of my Lord. I will cover all the expenses." When Abu Talib visited her uncle and formally proposed on Muhammad's behalf, the uncle responded, "There is no man in Mecca who would refuse your nephew." Thus the marriage was agreed upon. According to the books of Sirah, there was a gap of 3 months between the trade journey to Syria and the wedding. At the time of their marriage, Khadija was 40 years old, and Muhammad, peace be upon him, was 25. They had 6 children. Their first son, Qasim, lived for 2 years. It was from him that the Prophet gained the title Abu al-Qasim. They then had 3 daughters, Ruqayya, followed by Zainab, and then Kulthum. Their last daughter, Fatima, would be the only child to survive him in his life. They also had another son, Abdullah, who also passed away in infancy. When an enemy mocked the Prophet, saying, "Now he has no name-bearer," Surah Al-Kawthar was revealed, promising that the Prophet's name would be eternal while his enemies would be forgotten. With this, the journey toward prophethood continued to intensify. In the next chapter, we will share the moments leading up to the first revelation.